welcome to Quickie with Ms. B. I'm Ms. B. Thanks for joining us again for another week of Quickie with Ms. B. This week we're going to talk about your first and fill in the blank. So today we decided that we're going to talk about your first car. Now I know all of you out there are probably having a good laugh and remembering all kinds of funny stories about your first car.
The sad part is the ones that are really young right now, they never got to experience any of those. Well, I shouldn't say they never got to. You may have, but it would be a very rare time where you got to experience some of the old cars.
Yeah.
When your first car is you're born in '96, so your first car, is like a 2000 and 2005, Chevy, whatever. You're like, that's not the same to me.
Yeah.
you never got to experience all the great things that people going, wait, what? Well, that's all I could afford. What is that? You go, oh,
that's a car.
That's a Ford Custom 500. No, that is not. That is a small barge with wheels. Well, it rolls. What, do we have to push it? How big is that thing? I got 12 people in the trunk and 14 people in the back seat, and there's room for more. This can't be a real car.
It's like the banana car.
Yeah.
It's everybody.
A little much in the front and the back.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you my funny story about my first car. Well, my first car when I got married the first time. So it was a 76 Mercury, and I don't remember what kind of car model it was.
2-door, 4-door?
It was a 2-door. It was green, and it had these white racing stripes down the hood, on top of the roof, and on the back of the trunk.
Which means that just the fact that it was green with racing stripes, you were already psychotic.
I called it the Super Pickle because it was shaped like one.
Come on, boys, hop in the Super Pickle. Oh, yeah, you never should have told me that.
There's lots of things I should have never told you that you could go ahead and use against me in the future.
Oh, boy, this will be one. I don't even care about the car. I only want the title.
So,
welcome to Super Pickle. How can we help you? Well, that's the name of my car. Wow.
Anyways, it was 4 on the floor.
Wow.
So, and I knew how to drive a stick. I was pretty good at it. So I'm in my Super Pickle. I'm going up the hill. And it's like this busy 4-way stop. Just before they converted into, traffic lights,
Okay.
So it's 5 o'clock. It's very busy. Everybody's getting off work. They're doing their errands. They're going home. And everybody has to take turns making this stop. And we all kind of like, it's kind of like the stop was kind of weird because it wasn't like a straight 4-way stop. It was kind of kittywampus. So you really had to pay attention to where everybody else was stopped along these roads that intersected. So I'm going up the hill and I'm doing okay. I'm pushing the clutch in and I'm moving forward and I'm stopping and, making my way, crawling up to the stop sign. I actually get to the stop sign. I got it in first gear and it's my turn to go through the, road there. And all of a sudden I push in the clutch, get the shifter. I go to shift it into second gear to, get some momentum to start going up the rest of the hill. The clutch broke.
Oh, no.
And the shifter's now in my hand. Super Pickle is no more.
Did you forget to change the vinegar? Quick question. What brand tires did you use on that? Velasic?
No. So I'm stuck now because I can't move. So here I am in the middle of all this traffic, and people are getting pissed off at me because I can't move. So this was back in the day before the cell phones.
Did you have to push the pickle?
Well, every time I tried to push the pickle forward to get momentum to go, it would get stuck and roll back.
It's because it was in gear.
Exactly, but we couldn't get it out of gear. And you can't. I mean, you can only go so far in first gear. Let's be serious. So this was back in the day before cell phones. So I had to like run to the corner store there, the gas station, and call my husband at the time to come and get me because
come and help me with my pickle. It's broken.
I have a broken pickle. So he comes flying down, and this is like a steep hill. So he comes flying down the hill on the 10-speed bike, and I thought,
wait a minute, wait. You called your husband because the pickle was broken, so he showed up on a 10-speed. Oh, you can't make this stuff up.
I was going to my in-laws, so he still had his bike there. You don't take everything with you when you first move out.
Oh, I know. I was just like, oh my God, he shows up on a 10-speed to save you.
Oh my God. It just about doing the death wobble. And I thought, oh my God, he's going to die and I'm going to be stuck in this traffic with a super pickle and I'm never going to get it to move. So finally there was enough of us that got together to push it out of the way, and he drove it. He brought a pair of, what are those? They look like pliers, but you can grab onto them and clasp onto them, and they grip really tight.
Vice grips.
Vice grips. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. He brought a pair of those, and then stuck that on what was left of the shifter, and then use that to get it into gear to get up to my in-laws. Basically,
you're saying he was able to pinch your pickle enough to get it out of the road.
Yeah. You never want... Oh, people were so mad. They were so mad.
Ladies and gentlemen, the super pickle. You broke the stem on your super pickle.
I didn't do it on purpose. I don't know what happened. I just went to go put it in gear and then.
Now, did you get it fixed?
Yeah, we eventually got it fixed.
Was it just the linkage had come loose, or did it actually break the shaft?
I think the linkage came loose.
Yeah. If
I remember correctly. But yeah, my super pickle was down and out for a while because I couldn't drive it because they fixed it. And you know what the funny thing is? Okay, I'm gonna tell you this too.
There's a funny part to this that I missed.
Yes, and I know you're gonna use this against me in the future too, so I might as well just throw it out there and let's just be done with it. I actually found, I kid you not, a little stuffed super pickle. It had the cape with the S on it. And the pickle had little tiny, skinny little legs with these, funny little tennis shoes on it. It looked like a deranged version of Superman.
Did you hang it up on the review mirror?
Yes, I did. I put it there.
Fitting. It's fitting. Hopefully that little guy never broke his shifter.
No, he was good. His shifter was just fine.
Okay, we gotta take a break.
We gotta take a break because John needs to breathe. Back in a moment. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to A Quickie with Ms. B. If you missed the first half of the episode, please go back and check that out. And yes, John did have some oxygen. He's fine. He's still with me. I didn't kill him.
That was a close call, though. Oh, my heavens. I will never forget the super pickle.
I think I still have a picture of that car somewhere. If I find it, I'm going to show you.
Oh, my heavens. So mine is not so much the, like pickle power or anything like that. Mine is more of a staring car.
Yeah.
It's a car that, I've had other cars, but not, now the technicality is this is like, honestly, my fourth car. but technically it's my first car because I didn't go in on it with anybody. All
Yeah.
right. It's my first car that I went out and got. Me,
Right.
as an idiot, bought this car. It is known as the Ford Custom 500. At first,
Oh,
you might
boy.
think, what's that? That's what I said when I saw it, but the price was very, very good. I think there's just, I think there's just such a hopelessness having this car. They were willing to sell the car. I don't know anybody who would want to walk in and buy this. This car is so big, people. So big that even if you're overweight, you can get in the front seat of this car and feel like, wow, there's some room in here. I mean, I could have wore a top hat driving this car, and I would be able to not hit the ceiling. This car, everything about this car was so huge. Now, you know how nowadays you put your little donut tire in the trunk?
Yeah.
And it takes up that whole little well, and then you have to put a piece of cardboard over the top, or whatever they call it with carpet.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't even set a full bag of, now think of a paper bag of groceries. Set them straight and upright in the trunk. You can't do that.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Okay? You could with this. You could stack them.
Yeah.
You can get several bodies in this trunk. The well where you put the donut did not use donuts. It used full-size tires that would go down there. And a jack, a full-size jack. And all the tools you needed to fix the car were all in that hole. And it still had a cover on top of it. I mean, you could start stacking. This would have been a mob car. Because, I mean, you could have you could knock out some work. You know what I mean? You say, this is my work car. This is the one I take to Florida to get the work done. I mean,
the one I should.
Yeah, you could stack some bodies in this thing. And I mean, everything about this car was a beast. I remember I lost the power steering. I lost the power steering pump. I went down there. Now, this is a long time ago, people. So when I say this, don't laugh. But I was like, the guy's like, that's going to be $25. And I'm like, $25? Wow. For a steering pump? But then I had to get like another kit to go with it, and I had to replace a couple other things. So by the time I was done, it was going to end up being $50. Okay. Now, back in the days where, $1,200 in a month was making really good money.
Yep.
But I wasn't making $1,200 in a month. I was making a little over $800. So when you're going, well, so what do you make in a week? 205, 210? You're like, yeah. And they want $50. So that's like, wow, 1/4 of my entire income for a pump. I just can't spare it because I mean I've got rent, which is like $300 a month, all bills paid. That's a lot. That's more than that's almost half of all my money right there. And then I got to eat, so it's like I can't afford it. But as my father, I told him, and he was like, "Oh, just get a big screwdriver and jam it down. There's these little fins or whatever." He said, "Put the screwdriver right down where you fill it up at. Start it." It broke the teeth off of this thing. I was like, "Oh, what the hell? This makes no sense." He's like, "Now take a bottle of power steering pump, pierce a tiny hole, like with a needle." I'm like, "All right." Turn it upside down and wrap it on there with a piece of wire. And I did it. And yes, you could actually still close the lid. That's how big it was. And when you would close that lid on there, what happens is that little drip, 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 drip got flung all over inside of there. And apparently it kept the seals good enough. And I was able to, it wasn't like it was before. I had to put a little butt behind it, but I could turn it now. I mean, this thing was ghettoed out, Christine, like you could not even imagine. Couldn't afford to fix the one of the rear brakes. So I cut the line, and then I kept it. I capped it. Put a cap on that line so that you had the 3, and that cap maintained the pressure, so I only had 3 brakes for a while.
And you're making fun of my pickle-mobile?
Well,
You
and they
had the
kept getting, but this,
Ghetto-mobile.
you couldn't kill this car. And then when I lost the battery, there was nowhere to, go get a battery. Everyone had their hoods closed and stuff, so I couldn't, use my youthful nature to go, help myself to a battery. And they actually wanted like $45 for a battery back then. It was huge amounts of money. So I had to park it facing down a hill. I always had to face it down a hill. And yes, people, there were regular transmissions in cars back then. People, wasn't always an automatic. But oh my heavens, it was unbelievable.
Ghetto-mobile.
It was a complete Ghetto-mobile. It really absolutely was.
In the truer sense.
But people, the one thing it was really good for was going to drive-in theaters. Wow. You could go to the drive-in theater. And I had the coolest thing set up because the back seat, back then people didn't even know about back seats coming down. What I had done was I had got it so the back seat would come off.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then the spring that's in the middle of it, we had cut the spring so you could actually fold the back seat, just the back part of the back seat, the back rest. And we would put people in the trunk, and they always want to check your trunk. And I tell them, hey, listen, if you can check the trunk, that'd be great because I can finally get it open. And I had busted off a key and had it in there. But inside, they could see through, and they could take a little piece of wire and push that key back out later on. But when we went to the drive-in theater, when I wanted to put people in it, I would put that little broken key in there and go, really, man, seriously, hopefully you can get it. I hope. They're like, you can't? No. They go, you can't open it? No. And they grab my key and go to put it. You can't put it in. There's a broken key inside. I'm like, I haven't been able to use it since I bought the car, but hey, if you can get it to work, go for it, dude. They go on in, and then when we would get on in, I would pull that piece back. Everyone gets out from the inside. Ta-da!
Okay, well that drove me crazy. I have to go now.
See ya.